What's going on, fellas? I am even more sick. I did not sleep even a bit last night because I couldn't breathe, and I had a headache. And so I took I drank like 4 servings of NyQuil, being like, if I can get some sleep, I'll feel better. And then I didn't sleep, and now I'm just unbelievably groggy. I got all this head fog from having 4 servings of NyQuil a few hours ago. So training is going to be interesting today. As always, we're going to be an idiot and train through it, prove something to myself or something, because I can. And I want to prove that on my worst day, I'm still strong. But god damn, I feel terrible. It started on my rest day 2 days ago. I was like, oh, that's the best day to be sick, is the day I don't have to do anything other than some cardio. I even was smart and dialed back my cardio. Then came in yesterday, was still feeling shitty, but I hit a leg day anyway because it's what you do. And then I thought I did a good job leaving a little bit in the tank so I wouldn't be too buried. Probably overdid it based on how I feel today. So we're going to go overdo it again. Nothing a little bit of caffeine and some elbow grease can't fix. So we got stiff legs and deadlift accessories today. We're going to try to get her done. Got to eat my pre-workout meal right here. Wow, it looks very good. It's cream of rice, mixed nut butter, honey, and a banana and some salt. So pretty good pre-workout meal. I like including a little bit of fat so I don't crash mid-workout. Slows down the digestion, slows down that insulin release, that glucose in the bloodstream, blah, blah, blah. I just like having a little bit of fat with my pre-workout meal so it's more of a steady stream of energy. Yeah, I don't really got anything else to say. Can't think too good, but we're going to get after it and do some stiff legs and accessories and see how that goes. I'm hoping the caffeine will carry me home. And then it's early in the day having the caffeine. Hopefully I'll be able to get some sleep tonight because we got push press and shoulders tomorrow. All right, finishing up that meal. Got to walk on the treadmill a little bit to get moving. Going to do a couple more spreadsheets because I am struggling like hell to keep up with my coaching stuff. Just because I'm thinking so goddamn slow. But I figure if I just commit a little bit of extra time to it today, I'll be able to keep up with the workload. And that way, none of the coaching guys end up behind. So that is a major goal for the day, as well as doing some good training and going to bed early to try to get out from this fatigue hole that I've put myself in like an idiot. All right, we're out in the gym. Gonna take my time warming up because functionally, being sick is just extra fatigue on the body. The body's not always great at differentiating between types of training fatigue, so lots of the same principles apply to as if I was just coming into this late in a contest prep for strongman, carrying a lot of fatigue. Usually when I'm heavily fatigued, or when most people are heavily fatigued, the body's a little bit slow to get warm, but you can still warm it up. You just have to take a little bit more time to break a sweat, get a localized pump to the muscles, which is big. So I'm just gonna take my time warming up. Gonna kind of go top to bottom, get the lats firing a little bit for these deadlifts, get the shoulders moving, run through some core quote-unquote activation. I know that's probably not the best term, but I do find that getting some blood to my abs and my obliques helps my brace, which is gonna be big for today's succeeding. Gonna make sure I stretch out and get the hamstrings really warmed up, because the other thing, aside from being a little slow to warm up, that I would have to worry about is maybe a slightly elevated risk of injury carrying this fatigue and having a cold. One of those, anytime you have a cold or fatigued or anything, you get the elevated risk of injury. Be even more careful with your water intake. For me, that's a pretty crucial variable regardless. I just train a lot better when I'm hydrated, so it's something that I place a lot of priority on. There's not much more room to drink more water in a productive manner, but making sure I've been drinking water all morning, make sure I'm well hydrated, reduce that potential risk of straining a hammy. I mean, if I was gonna hurt myself today on stiff legs, the accessory work is not that invasive. I would be surprised if I hurt myself on it. The only thing I could see getting a little small injury on would be the stiff legs. So that would either be my low back or my hamstrings. Just gonna take my time, getting those warm, moving well, getting a good brace, and we're gonna get her done today. Because if you can succeed under poor circumstances, you're gonna succeed under good circumstances. So not exactly what I would recommend to everyone, but I view training while I'm sick as a challenge, and I have a home gym, so I'm not risking getting anyone else sick. So we're gonna get after it. I don't really want to film, so we're going to run through kind of what I'm doing. Just going to do some banded dislocations, get the shoulders moving, do some light pull downs, get a little bit of blood to the lats. Max likes to do either bar pullovers or pullovers with a band to kind of warm up that function of the lats we're specifically looking for in the deadlift, to keeping that weight in close, either or just getting a little blood to the lats. Sometimes I'll just row the empty bar a bunch of times. Then I'm gonna do some front planks. I'm gonna add a little weight today so I don't have to count as high. I would do side planks, but I have been enjoying doing suitcase holds on one of my farmer's carry implements because it is very cold here. There's a bunch of snow outside. I can't do my moving events, so I can just leave some weight loaded up on my farmer for everyday suitcase holds for some grip and oblique work. That'll be the gist of like the core activation work, so to speak. Gonna do some back extensions, start getting some blood flow to my hamstrings, maybe stretch out because the positioning is pretty hard for me to achieve on stiff leg deadlifts because I'm fat. So we're gonna get moving, do some pigeon stretch, do some hamstring stretching, and then we're gonna start getting into it. Now it's important to note that there is not formal evidence to support this, so this is more anecdotal experience, but I will tell you guys that as someone who's, I don't wanna say I've had problems with my back. I don't think I've had like acute injuries very often. Very, very few times in my training career have I like soundly hurt my back, couldn't get out of bed the next day. I more so have had an issue with just like chronic back pain of mostly just feels like my spinal erectors are pumping up and just feels like they're cramping when I like walk for too long. And one of the things that I've done to basically get rid of this issue completely, knock on wood, aside from good fatigue management, is the inclusion of anti-lateral flexion work, whether that be a side plank, a suitcase hold, or a suitcase carry. The inclusion of these in my program keeps my back feeling noticeably better. So that's kind of a big check mark for me. This, alongside training the muscles that resist extension in an isometric fashion, usually be that ab rollouts, be that GHD sit-ups, because if you're doing those, maintaining a fixed back position, it's almost like a plank with a variable resistance curve. So yes, your hip flexors are moving you, but your abs aren't really moving you all that much. You're going into a position where it's hard to resist the rib cage opening, back to an easy position, to a hard position, to an easy position. Same as a rollout, front planks, sit at the bottom of a GHD sit-up. So the inclusion of that anti-extension work, anti-lateral flexion work always makes my back feel pretty good, even with the same workload. The other thing that's helped me a good bit was just focusing on being able to get my hip into extension via training like walking lunges and split squats, doing a little bit of static or dynamic stretching for my hip flexors, because I found that the reason I would cramp up when I walk was not because I was as out of shape as I thought, but because my hip wasn't able to go into extension. I would just go into extension at the low back over and over and over and over and gradually get a lower back pump. So the combination of including some anti-extension work, some anti-lateral flexion work, and then also keeping the front of my hip moving well, has basically completely alleviated all those issues. So that's kind of a box I like to check in. Not all programs, but a lot of programs, is something where we're challenging the obliques. We could probably vary the task they're doing and still get the benefits. So we could probably get out of this sagittal plane that we lift in most of the time and do some like rotational work with med ball throws against a wall if your gym allows that. We could do some Pavlov presses, so some anti-rotational work. We could do some flexion work, whether that be just like side bends or an overhead windmill with a dumbbell, right? So we can just challenge the obliques a little bit, and I find that it's just pretty excuse me, pretty damn good job stabilizing the back. And I think it merits the bit of effort in your training routine. So I'm finishing up those suitcase holds for a few rounds of 30 seconds. Nice little grip and anti-flexion work. I will say that if you train at a training facility that lends itself to it, I do recommend doing suitcase carries, if only because I think it's a lot less monotonous than just standing there looking at a timer, to instead look at the distance you've gone and distance you have to go. It's a lot more fun. It kind of changes up training. And I think there's a lot of benefits to including some kind of weighted carries within your training program. And that's an easy one that you can fit in there. All right, last warm-up complete. I'm gonna try to do 545 pounds for a beltless triple on these stiff legs, which would tie my PR. So if I can do that while I'm sick, next week we should be in the running for a new PR on these, so that's cool. Can't really effectively check my form on these because I'm wearing 3 hoodies, and I can't really see my positioning. In the past, I've always been pretty proud of my ability to maintain positioning that I'm pleased with for stiff legs, and I feel like maintains the muscular emphasis I'm looking for. Lots of people I find will start their hips very, very high successfully, but will end up using their spinal erectors as more of a primary mover than I would like. In the past, especially this summer when it was super, it was like 100 and some degrees in here, I would do them shirtless and I could check my form. I can't really tell. I'm gonna guess that because I'm usually pretty decent with these, I would like the position, but I imagine it's not too far off. I just have no idea because I'm cold, I'm sick, and I feel okay. So we'll see. Goal is to match the PR, maybe a little easier than what I did last time, because despite being sick, I am stronger now than I was then. Okay, so we tied the beltless triple PR on the stiff legs pretty comfortably there. So that's a big win. Was able to do what I had planned on. I reckon that sets me up to go like 555, 560 for 3 next week to get a new triple PR before we rotate into doubles. So I was able to stick to the program as planned without auto-regulation on the main stuff. Probably going to down-regulate my accessories because of it. Kind of the plan was coming in is if I had to deviate from the plan on the main stuff, I'd put in the expected work on the accessories or vice versa, depending on what I could do. Obviously, the preference is to do as planned on the primary stuff, dial back the secondary stuff. So I think the plan will be doing most of the same motions just for higher reps. So I think instead of neutral grip weighted chin-ups today, I'm just gonna hit a set or 2 of neutral grip pull downs in the higher rep range, just get a really good pump to the lats, and then get back into the neutral pull-ups next week. Just decrease the absolute load there a little bit, hit some high rep T-bar rows as my horizontal pull. Might try the programmed weight on the hamstring curls just because I can't imagine that's going to be too taxing. And then going to go real light on the back extension again for higher reps with the goal of hopefully being slightly less wrecked for tomorrow's training if I can get that done. Because I would like to do a little bit of push pressing tomorrow. But if I am as fatigued as I was today, I'm guessing my knee is going to give me problems. So hopefully we can come in a little fresher tomorrow. Then we got some incline press, maybe some close grip bench, some dips, and some tricep work, maybe some shoulders. Don't remember off the top of my head, but that's the plan for tomorrow. So gonna get a nice pump in the posterior chain and try not to bury myself any more than I already have by pushing this workout in here. So yeah. All right, last set of the last exercise. I am crashing pretty bad. I feel fucking terrible, but you finish what you start. Let's finish strong with some hammy curls. Pardon the big money noises. I am dying. Okay, I'm about to whip together this video, but I thought of something I thought was pretty funny to end on a high note. So I've mentioned plenty of times before, I'm very human. There are comments on my YouTube that annoy me a little bit, but I can tell you guys what isn't a comment that annoys me. Cracks me up every time. Every time I see me or someone else post a stiff leg deadlift, there is some dude that comes out of nowhere, very confident in himself, and says, "That's not a stiff leg deadlift, your knees aren't locked." Who the hell told you that? I looked up how to do SLDL or stiff leg deadlift, and none of the top 10 results, not a single person had their knees locked. I don't really know anybody that could do a nice looking stiff leg with their knees locked. I don't know why they would. I'm so baffled why there's always some dude that comes in flaming hot to say that's not a stiff leg. You know, for those of you unaware, let's just say we're talking strength training purposes. It should be kind of like a close grip bench. It's not like, oh, that's not a close grip unless your hands are fucking touching. It needs to be different enough that it poses a different stimulus. And usually the indicator that it's posing a different stimulus is at least some numerical difference in strength, right? So if your stiff leg and your conventional deadlift they look very similar and are numerically very similar, there's a chance that that's not extreme enough to pose a significant variation, or it's a very badly selected variation for you. Whereas someone like myself, I'm not locking my knees, but I keep my hips significantly higher than I do when I drop them into a conventional deadlift. And this results in about a 230-pound difference in 1RM, which I would say is plenty large of a difference to constitute a different exercise. Kind of the same thing as close grip, right? Yeah, I don't know how much I would count one finger width closer as a close grip PR. Maybe that could be a training variable you mess around with, but I don't know if I would count that as an entirely different motion. But if we're looking at a 5, 10, 15% difference, chances are that constitutes a different variation of that exercise. So, and we can only work with the mobility that we have, right? I do know that like back in the day, Dan Green used to do locked knee RDLs, and he has the strongest, most mobile hamstrings I've ever seen, but I'm not sure that's something that I would recommend to non-extremely experienced lifters. Aside from that, I don't really see anybody locking their knees. And we can only work with the mobility that we've got. So let's say we are doing dead stop stiff legs from the floor. If we can only get our hips so high and our knees so straightened before we start compromising our back position, that's what we got to work with. As we strengthen that stretch position of the hamstring, chances are getting stronger in that lengthened hamstring position is going to make you better at getting your knees a little bit more locked and getting your hips a little bit higher. So doing the exercise is going to get us better at it, but arbitrarily shooting them up at the cost of our back position because we don't have sufficient hamstring mobility, not a great use of time. Those comments always crack me up because I just have no idea where those are coming from. I get the close, oh, that's not a close grip, whatever. Like, it's not how you do them, so you can't directly compare yourself to the guy. Oh no. But at least I get where they're coming from. It doesn't look very close. If you see a very wide grip bencher do their close grip variation, you're like, oh shit, that's still wider than I do my regular bench. That's wider than my wide grip. This is bullshit, right? Well, it's not to show off their close grip strength. It's supposed to be a variation that's supposed to carry over, right? But that cracks me up every time. I don't know where the hell these guys come from. But I'm going to whip this video together for you boys.